Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner, this time Girls Soccer Edition. I'm Jake Lancer with Daniel Lynn for HWTV, and today we're back with varsity girls soccer coach Richard Sims. The Wolverines have high expectations going into league play this year, led behind their leading goal scorer, freshman Victoria Pugh.
During winter break, how did you guys prepare since you had so many days off between games?
Yeah, this was a bit of an odd winter break this year, and the rhythm that we were hoping for had to be adjusted. But I think that over the last couple of years, we've all become so used to having to roll with changes and things getting canceled or postponed that I don't think it had a huge impact on us. We had our normal break over Christmas, and then we came back and practiced in the window in between Christmas and New Year's, and then we were supposed to go to Texas and play in a college showcase event in Dallas. But we canceled that trip because of the surge in COVID cases and the Omicron variant, which was the right decision. It would not have been fair or safe for us to take that trip, considering school wasn't even happening here in LA. And so no big deal. We didn't go to Texas, and then we have had one league game postponed that week. So we actually ended up going about 25 days without a game, which, when you consider our season is only 2.5 months long, 25 days without a game is a pretty significant chunk of the season. But we came back and played on Wednesday and Friday of last week, and won both games. And so it seems like it hasn't been too impactful, hopefully.
Speaking on COVID protocol coming back into play, how else has it affected your team?
We have had a couple of players who have contracted COVID. Luckily, they're both fine. And one will be back with the team soon, and the other one's already back with the team. What's different is that we had a player who had to isolate because of an exposure. And so she missed the game on Friday of last week, and still has a day or two that she's out. These are just the things that we have to accept as being necessary to keep our community safe and to keep everybody moving forward. So it's to me, as a coach, I just look at it as if the player's out sick or out injured. That's it's not new. We have players that miss all the time for those reasons.
Looking at what a great start you had to the season, starting off with the 9-0 win and then a 4-1 win against Chaminade. What are you hoping for your team to accomplish during your regular league season?
I mean, the first priority is we always want to win the league. The league is very different than anything else that we do because it's the same teams every year. And so you build up, rivalries and consistent sort of narratives between the schools. And there's a lot of crossover between our players and the players on the other teams of knowing each other through club soccer or just knowing each other from playing against each other year after year. So the games are just different. The parents seem more into it, so the environment just seems to have a little bit extra bite to it. And that makes it fun. So the first priority is we always want to win the league, and we are off to a good start, but we have to play 8 games and we've only played 2. So, it's also usually harder the second time around. We played Chaminade on Friday, and now when we play them again this Friday, they're a lot more familiar with our players. And, Vicky scored 2 goals. Jake mentioned Victoria Pugh. Vicky scored 2 goals in the game. They never played against her before, and now they have. So that gives them a little bit of an advantage heading into the next round. So, it's the old one game at a time thing, but that's all you can do is stay in the moment and stay present. I think that's what that expression really is talking about, right? It's not assuming the past will predict the future. So we got to just stay in the moment and go one game per day.
We're going to get into the details of back-to-back Chaminade games, but before that, looking at early preseason and going now into league play, you guys had 4 ties early on the season. You've now gone and won 2 big games. What do you think has changed in order to really take that step to win games instead of tie?
Soccer is a funny sport because we have 4 ties, and I would say 2 of them were games we should have won, and 2 of them were games we probably could have lost. So that always seems to work itself out over the course of the season. That your ties obviously can be wins or losses as well. And so, I don't really look at those 4 ties as a bad thing. They're just, they're part of the sport that we play. Ties are part of the game. We played in those 4 ties. Some of those teams were really, really good, and so it was a battle just to get a tie. But I do think for our kids in our community, the students at Harvard Westlake, that period of time when we were playing the first couple of weeks in December tends to be a very stressful time of the year. A lot of testing going on. All of our seniors are finding out about college apps and really decisions at universities. So I'm not sure we were as focused as we probably needed to be at that point in the season. And we seem a lot more focused now. We seem better rested, which winter break certainly helped with. So our energy level seems higher, and just less distractions of, worrying about who got into what school and just the nature of being at a high school. So hopefully just more focused and feeling more physically fresh.
This is a very deep team with a lot of talent from freshman up to senior. And it's clear that you're trying to manage all of them and getting all those girls into the lineup. But really, how are you prioritizing it?
It is always for our program and for me as the coach, it is always merit based. It's not really based on what grade you're in. It really is the best players play. And if you're good enough, you're old enough. It doesn't really matter what grade you're in. I do think that it's really important that we keep everybody on the team engaged. And so, if you allow too much time to go by with certain players not playing or not contributing, you potentially they check out mentally on you, and we got to be really careful with that because you just never know when you're going to need somebody to contribute. And we see it all the time with injuries and now with COVID, and we just have no idea how that could affect our roster. And so we need everybody ready to play. So it's 100% merit based, but everybody on our team deserves to be on the team and deserves an opportunity to play. And so we want to keep people motivated too.
There are multiple standout freshmen on this year's team, but we wanted to take a second to acknowledge the loss of Maddie Grant this year to an ACL injury early in the season. What is the status of Maddie's injury currently, and how has her absence affected the team both on and off the field?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm sure Maddie will appreciate that as well. I think that loss has been huge. She's unbelievably talented, and I always think your talented freshmen just bring a different type of energy to a team and to the game, and their enjoyment of the process of learning about a high school season is always really fun to watch. Maddie is doing well. She had her surgery over the break to repair the ACL, and she's, I believe, cleared of crutches just in the last couple of days. So every time I see her, she's doing a little bit better than the time before. And she is an unbelievably hard worker, and I'm sure is going to be back sooner rather than later. She'll do all of her physical therapy. The shame of the loss on the field is how talented Maddie is. Maddie is a really, really dynamic player who's exciting to watch, and I think would have had a lot to contribute both offensively and defensively. But our team is deep, as you mentioned before, and so other people have stepped up and contributing. But yeah, Maddie hopefully will be back for us next season, and she's been awesome as a teammate. She's at every game and she's supporting the team.
With so many seniors graduating this year, have you tried to sort of implement younger players like Danny, for example, into more leadership positions because they're going to be taking the reins of this team next year?
Yeah. I think that most of that will happen in the off season. I think the process of developing the next leaders is always happening, but mostly it's the current leaders leading by example. We do have a lot of seniors on the team, and we had a lot of seniors on the team last year as well. And I think we graduate something like 25 seniors over a 2-year period, which is a huge number for us. And so the process of bringing through the next team, the next group of players, and developing those leaders is really important. A lot of it will happen in the off season when we're working out with sports performance and doing a lot of that work, where we'll start to empower next year's seniors, which Danny will be one of, to step into that role. And I think hopefully they've received good leadership from the other girls as they've been younger players, and then can hope to emulate that and add their own personality to it.
Seeing as you've played Chaminade twice or are going to play Chaminade twice in 2 weeks and already won the first one, what are you looking forward to Friday's match, and how are you going to prepare for it?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is that we play tomorrow. And so that will have its own impact heading into Friday of who plays well and who's looking sharp and who trains well this week. But like I said before, the past does not predict the future. And so, if we just say, oh, we beat them last time, it's just not how soccer or sports work. Otherwise you wouldn't play series in baseball or, all these different things. Every game is different. And I do believe Chaminade will be better prepared for Friday's game than they were last Friday's game. I don't think they were that well prepared for Vicky. And so I think that will be a big difference. Hopefully for us, we realized in the second half that if we can slow down a little bit and connect some more passes, that we can be really successful too. So I'm just hoping, I've said it throughout the season that we're playing our best by the end of the year. And last Friday was a really exciting game for me as a coach because we played so much better in the second half than the first half. And that's going to be really important, when we play must-win games, that we can improve over the course of a game. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see. Can we, if we were better in the second half of the first game against Chaminade, can we be better in the second game than we were in the first game? And those are some of the challenges that we'll set out for players.
You talk about playing your best at the end of the season. It's been a really hectic season and it isn't over yet. A lot to go still. What has the biggest focus been for this team?
We, I think at the beginning of the season had a lot of players that had never played together before. And so I think building chemistry has been the biggest challenge. And where it was interesting to watch is we have a great group of kids that all really like each other. So sometimes that can be deceiving that you have great chemistry because everybody likes each other. But soccer chemistry is different than social chemistry, and so just because people like each other and enjoy each other's company doesn't mean they know each other's strengths and weaknesses as players. And the same for me as a coach. I've had to get to know some of the players in a different way this year, including Danny, who I've had limited time coaching in the past. So it's figuring out what can every player bring to the table so that we can get the best out of each other. I want to be the best version of myself as a coach, and I want the players to all be the best versions of themselves. That's taken a little bit longer than some previous seasons where we had a lot of continuity with the team. There was a lot of new this year. And so that process has been really fun, though, and really rewarding because I think we're playing so much better now than we were a month and a half ago. And so, yeah, hopefully we just continue to ascend and improve.
Again, speaking on how we've talked about you have such a deep team, who do you think are some players that we should look out for going forward into league and possibly playoffs?
Our team is really balanced, in my opinion. So it's not just deep; it's also balanced. Where there's a lot of players contributing in different ways. And I think I said it last time we chatted, but Amelia Jackson has been a revelation as a goalkeeper. She has very limited experience playing in goal and has been asked already to play against some of the best teams in Division One. Playing at Chaminade last Friday is a very difficult place to play. They got blue turf and they're a really loud sideline and she handled it beautifully and had a fantastic game. So I think it starts with her at the back. Haley Hubbard played her first games last week of the season. She was out with a bad ankle injury and she has been fantastic. She played all 80 minutes against Chaminade last Friday at center back. Which was great to have her contributing. Jade Stanford is always phenomenal for us, but had a great game. Danny played great in that game and had a fantastic throw-in that led to one of our goals. So there's a lot of players that are playing a lot. So it's not like they're unsung heroes, but you maybe don't notice them because they're on the defensive side of the ball and they're the ones stopping the other team from scoring. But that's been a major point of emphasis over the last few weeks is playing better team defense. And so Alex Astalos, Jada Pryor, Maddie Kim, Danny, Jade, and Amelia are going to be a really big part of that. So I think if our team does well over the rest of the season, it's going to be because of how well we defended.
Now, looking at how crazy this season has already been, what is one word you would use to describe it?
Yeah, one word. If you haven't figured it out by now, I always need more than one word. One word to describe the season. Unpredictable, maybe. But I think in a good way. I think it's keeping us on our toes. So, yeah, I'll stop talking. You asked for one word.
Facing some tough tests towards the end of the season, we talked about what the biggest focus has been with chemistry-wise early in the season. To make this late playoff push that we've been talking about, what do you think is going to be key?
Yeah, the chemistry piece that we've really been focused on is communication on the field. I think that's where it's sort of been the most obvious that we didn't have the best chemistry at the beginning. So getting players to really communicate with each other and really talk is going to be huge because when we start playing in playoff games, it tends to be a lot more frantic. It tends to be a lot louder. And so it's just really important the players on the field are communicating with one another and helping each other. So I think if we can get better at that, that will really help. That will really help when we come down at crunch time of the season.
Thank you so much for joining us on your second Coach's Corner of the year. Good luck to you guys against Flint Ridge Sacred Heart and Chaminade. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the game.